"This house is mine now," my sister Amanda announced at dinner, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her wine glass. Our parents beamed from across the table while I sat there, fork frozen midway to my mouth, processing her words. The same house I'd been paying the mortgage on for 4 years. The same house she claimed she just needed help with temporarily, back when she was finding herself after college. The dining room suddenly felt smaller, the expensive chandelier I'd bought last Christmas casting shadows that seemed to mock me. Amanda's smile was razor-sharp, confident, like she'd already won. Maybe she thought she had. "Mom and Dad agreed to transfer everything to my name," she continued, taking a deliberately slow sip of the wine I'd brought. "It just makes sense, don't you think? I mean, you're never here anyway, always working those long hours at your office job." She made air quotes, and our parents chuckled. I set my fork down quietly, too quietly. "Interesting," I said, reaching for my briefcase beside my chair. "When did you make this decision?" "Oh, last week," Mom chimed in, helping herself to more of the pasta I'd paid for. "Amanda has such wonderful plans for the place. She's thinking of starting a home-based wellness business." "Isn't that exciting?" I nodded, fingers finding the folder I'd been carrying for months, just waiting for the right moment. "Very exciting," I agreed, pulling out the crisp legal documents. "But there might be a small problem with that plan." Amanda's smile flickered just for a second. "What do you mean?" I spread the papers on the table, carefully moving aside the pasta dish that had cost more than Amanda's monthly contribution to the household, which was exactly $0. "Well, you see, when you stopped making mortgage payments 4 years ago, and I stepped in to help temporarily, I had my lawyer draw up some paperwork." The color drained from Amanda's face. Dad stopped chewing, his fork suspended in midair. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her wine. "What kind of paperwork?" Amanda's voice had lost its edge. "Oh, just a simple transfer of property deed," I said, sliding the documents toward her. "You signed it, remember? That night you were panicking about the bank threatening foreclosure. You said you'd do anything to keep the house." "I never," she started, but then her eyes fell on her own signature, dated 4 years ago. "That's not." I was stressed. "You took advantage." I laughed, the sound hollow in a suddenly silent room. "Took advantage? Like when you took advantage of my savings? My credit? My trust?" I turned to our parents. "Did she tell you I've been paying the mortgage, the utilities, the property taxes?" Mom's face crumpled. "But Amanda said she was handling everything. She said her business was doing so well." "What business?" I asked quietly. "The yoga studio that never opened? The life coaching practice that exists only on Instagram? Or maybe the wellness blog that hasn't been updated since 2021. Amanda stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. "You can't do this. This is my house, my life." "No," I said, my voice steady. "This was your house. The one you nearly lost because you couldn't be bothered to make payments. The one I saved by working 60-hour weeks while you posted poolside photos and called yourself an entrepreneur." "Mom, Dad," she turned to them, eyes wide and pleading. "Tell him he can't." But they just sat there, staring at the papers that proved every word I said. 4 years of mortgage payments, utility bills, property taxes, home repairs. All in my name, all carefully documented. "I've been more than fair," I continued, pulling out another document. "I've given you 3 months' notice. It's all here in writing, dated last week when Mom told me about your little wellness business plans." 3 months? Amanda's voice cracked. "You're giving me 3 months to leave my own house?" Actually, I checked my watch. Now it's 2 months, 29 days, and about 14 hours. But who's counting? The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, a car alarm went off somewhere in the distance, but in our dining room, you could hear a pin drop. "Where am I supposed to go?" Amanda whispered, all pretense gone from her voice. "Well," I gestured to the window where her Tesla was parked. "You've got that nice car I helped you finance. The one you needed for your business meetings. It reclines pretty far back, I hear." Mom finally found her voice. "Stephen, surely you're not serious. She's your sister." "Yes," I agreed, "she is. And for 4 years, I've watched her take advantage of that fact. I've watched her spend money on designer clothes while I paid her bills. I've seen her post about manifesting abundance while I worked overtime to keep this roof over her head." I stood up, gathering the papers. "But you know what really decided this for me? It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the lies. I pulled out my phone, opened Instagram, and showed them Amanda's post from last week. Some people work smart, not hard. While others waste their lives in offices, I'm building an empire. Hashtag self-made, hashtag boss babe, hashtag blessed. Amanda's face went from pale to scarlet. That wasn't about you. No, I smiled. Then who was it about? Who exactly has been working in an office to support your empire? Dad finally spoke, his voice heavy. Amanda, is this true? Has your brother been paying for everything? She crumbled then, tears spilling down her perfectly contoured cheeks. I was going to pay him back, once my business took off. Which business? I asked again. The one you're planning to start in the house I own. The one you were going to announce on Instagram tomorrow. I saw the draft post, by the way, excited to announce my new venture in my beautiful home. Funny how you forgot to mention who paid for that beautiful home. Amanda sank back into her chair, mascara running. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. I'll do better. I'll get a real job. Like the one you had at Dad's company. The one you quit because it was beneath your potential. I shook my head. No, I think it's time for some real-world experience. Time to learn what things actually cost. I stood up, tucking the papers back into my briefcase. You have until the end of the week to show me a real plan. A job, an apartment search, something concrete. Otherwise, the 3-month notice becomes effective immediately. And if I refuse to leave, she challenged, a last flicker of defiance in her eyes. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I'll have to inform the bank about some interesting charges on the credit card you opened in my name last year. The one you thought I wouldn't notice. Her face went white again. You wouldn't. Try me, I said softly. Family works both ways, Amanda. You taught me that. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and one more thing. The utilities switch to your name tomorrow. Hope that empire of yours can cover the electric bill. As I left, I heard Amanda start to sob. Heard Mom trying to comfort her. Heard Dad's heavy sigh. But for the first time in 4 years, I felt light. Free. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A text from Amanda. You'll regret this. Family is forever. I typed back. Yes, it is. And now you have 3 months to figure out what that really means. Turning off my phone, I drove home to my modest apartment, the one I kept instead of buying something nicer because I was too busy paying for Amanda's lifestyle. Tomorrow would bring drama, tears, probably more threats. But tonight I would sleep well, knowing that sometimes the hardest part of loving your family is stopping them from destroying themselves. And you in the process. The next morning, chaos erupted exactly as I'd expected. My phone exploded with messages, calls, and voicemails. A symphony of family meltdown I had anticipated. Amanda, the electricity is out. What did you do? Mom, please call us. We need to discuss this as a family. Dad, son, maybe we can work something out. Amanda again. I have a very important Zoom call with potential investors. I sipped my coffee, reading through them with a calmness that surprised even me. The electricity wasn't actually out. I just transferred the account to Amanda's name. The bill was due today. Simple as that. At 10:30 a.m., my office phone rang. The receptionist sounded apologetic. Sir, your sister is here. Send her up, I said. Time to face the music. Amanda burst into my office like a designer hurricane. Her usually perfect appearance was slightly disheveled, probably from trying to find a coffee shop with decent Wi-Fi for her investor meeting. Fix this, she demanded, slamming her hand on my desk. Fix it right now. I looked up from my computer screen, taking in her desperate state. Fix what exactly? The utilities you never paid for. The mortgage you forgot about. Or maybe the credit card fraud we haven't discussed yet. She collapsed into the chair across from me, her anger deflating slightly. That credit card was an emergency. Really? I opened my drawer and pulled out the statements. Was the $3,000 spa weekend an emergency? The $5,000 shopping spree at Nordstrom? The monthly subscriptions to luxury beauty boxes? I needed those for my influencer career, she protested. Image is everything in my industry. Your industry, I repeated slowly. The one that's made you exactly $0 in 4 years. She flinched. I'm building my brand. These things take time. Time, yes, and money. My money. I leaned forward. Do you know what my colleagues call me? The guy who never takes vacations. The one who always stays late. They think I'm some workaholic chasing promotions. But really, I was just trying to keep up with your brand building. Tears welled up in her eyes, the same tactical tears I'd seen her use countless times before. I'm your sister. How can you do this to me? Funny, I've been asking myself the same question for 4 years. How could my sister do this to me? A knock at my door interrupted us. My assistant poked her head in. Sir, your 11 a.m. is here. Thank you, Sarah. I stood up. We're done here, Amanda. No, we're not. She remained seated. I'm not leaving until you fix this. I sighed. Security can help you leave if necessary. Your choice. She stood up so fast the chair scraped against the floor. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, please call security. Wait. Amanda's voice cracked. Just wait. What do you want from me? What do I want? I laughed. I want you to grow up. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to stop posting about being self-made when you're living off your brother's hard work. She was quiet for a moment, something shifting in her expression. I can get a job. You said that last year, and the year before. This time I mean it. She pulled out her phone. Look, I already applied to some places. I took the phone. 3 job applications, all for creative director and brand manager positions requiring 10+ years of experience. I handed it back. Try again. Something entry level. Something real. Entry level. She looked horrified. I have a degree. In what? Communications? The degree Dad paid for that you haven't used once? I checked my watch. My meeting's waiting. You have until Friday to show me proof of real job applications. Restaurant work, retail, office assistant. I don't care what it is as long as it's real. And if I do, will you let me stay? No, I said firmly. But I'll help you find an apartment you can actually afford. Maybe even co-sign if you maintain the job for 3 months. She stood there, mascara slightly smudged, looking more real than she had in years. I don't know how to do this. I know, I said softer now. That's the problem. But you're going to learn. After she left, I sat back down, exhausted. Sarah brought me coffee without asking. Your sister seems intense, she said diplomatically. I laughed. That's one word for it. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. I answered, bracing myself. The things you said to your sister, she started. Were all true, I finished. She's devastated, Stephen. She's been crying all morning. But I said, maybe tears will help her see clearly for once. Mom was quiet for a moment. Your father and I, we didn't know. About the mortgage, the bills. You didn't want to know, I corrected. It was easier to believe her lies. We're selling our timeshare, she said suddenly, to help her with. No, I cut in. Don't you see? That's exactly the problem. She needs to figure this out herself. But she's our daughter. And I'm your son, I said quietly, the one who's been keeping your daughter afloat while you praised her for swimming. The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Mom spoke again, her voice small. We failed you both, didn't we? Yes, I agreed. But only one of us learned how to succeed anyway. After hanging up, I stared at my computer screen, not really seeing it. 4 years of enabling, of silent resentment, of watching my sister drift further from reality while I helped fund her delusions. It had to end. My phone buzzed one more time, a notification from Instagram. Amanda had posted again. Sometimes life's biggest challenges lead to our greatest transformations. #growth, #new beginnings, #blessed. Below it was a photo of job applications, real ones this time. Retail stores, coffee shops, entry-level office work. And for the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope for my sister. But I didn't like the post. I didn't comment. Some transformations need to happen without an audience, without filters, without hashtags. Sometimes rock bottom needs to be felt, not photographed. I turned back to my work, knowing this was just the beginning. The real test would come when Friday arrived, when reality truly set in. When my sister had to face the world without her safety net for the first time in her adult life. But for now, I had done what needed to be done. Sometimes love looks like letting go, like watching someone fall so they can finally learn to stand on their own. The rest was up to her. Friday arrived with a strange mix of tension and anticipation. I sat in my home office, reviewing the email Amanda had sent late last night. Attached were 5 confirmed job interviews for next week. All entry-level positions, all legitimate. Below them was a list of apartment viewings she'd scheduled, with realistic budgets based on potential entry-level salaries. I was surprised. Actually surprised. A knock at my door interrupted my thoughts. I knew who it was. Amanda had texted earlier asking to talk, but the person standing there barely resembled my Instagram-obsessed sister. Gone was the designer outfit, replaced by simple jeans and a plain black top. Her face was free of makeup and her usually perfectly styled hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked real. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice lacking its usual dramatic flair. I stepped aside, letting her enter. She took in my modest apartment with new eyes, noticing, perhaps for the first time, that while I've been paying for her luxury lifestyle, I've been living well below my means. "I've been stupid," she said suddenly, sitting on my couch. "Really, really stupid." I sat across from her, waiting. "I calculated it all last night," she continued, pulling out a notebook, an actual paper notebook, not her usual iPad Pro. "Everything you've paid for over the past 4 years. She swallowed hard. It's over $300,000. $347,000 to be exact," I said quietly. She looked up sharply. "You kept track?" Of course I kept track. It was my money, Amanda. She flinched at that, looking back down at her notebook. "I made a plan, a real one this time." She handed me the notebook. I opened it, expecting more grandiose schemes about influencer fame. Instead, I found detailed budgets, job prospects with realistic salary expectations, and apartment listings within those budgets. At the bottom of each page was a number, $347,000. "I'm going to pay you back," she said firmly. "Every cent." I closed the notebook. This is unexpected. I stayed up all night, looking at my life, really looking at it. My Instagram feed, my so-called business plans, all of it. She laughed bitterly. "Do you know what I realized? I have 500,000 followers who like my posts about building an empire. But I can't even pay my own electric bill. That's self-aware of you." "I deleted my accounts," she said suddenly. "What?" "All of them. Instagram, TikTok, the blog, everything. I can't keep pretending to be something I'm not." I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation of the usual performance. I found none. "The job interviews," I began, "are real," she finished. 2 coffee shops, a bookstore, an office receptionist position. And she took a deep breath. "Dad's company, entry-level filing clerk." That last one made me sit up straighter. "Dad's company, the one beneath your potential." She smiled sadly. "Turns out my potential needs a reality check." Silence settled between us, but it felt different than before, less charged, more thoughtful. "I found an apartment," she continued. "It's not like the house. It's small, basic, shares a bathroom with another unit. But it's $800 a month, and with any of these jobs, I could afford it." I nodded slowly. "And the house?" "Is yours," she said simply. "Fair and square. I signed it over, remember? In my desperate moment of clarity 4 years ago." She paused. "What are you going to do with it?" "Sell it," I said. "Use the money to invest in something that actually brings returns, not just Instagram likes." She winced but nodded. "I deserve that." "Yes," I agreed, "you do." She stood up, straightening her simple clothes. "The 3-month notice. I don't need it. I'll be out by the end of next week, whether I have a job lined up or not. The Tesla goes back too. I called the dealership this morning." I raised an eyebrow. "And how will you get to these jobs?" "The bus," she said, then smiled slightly at my surprised expression. "I looked up the routes already. Turns out public transportation exists for a reason." She headed for the door, then turned back. "I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just for the money, but for taking advantage of you. For mocking your office job while it kept me afloat. For everything." I stood up, feeling something shift between us. "The notebook," I said. "The repayment plan." "Yes." "Keep it. But not for me." She looked confused. "That money's gone, Amanda. I knew it was gone the moment I spent it. Keep track of it, work your way through that number, but put it in savings. Build your own safety net this time." Tears welled in her eyes, real ones this time, not the calculated drops I'd grown so used to seeing. Why would you do that? After everything. Because you're my sister, I said simply. And for the first time in 4 years, you're actually acting like it. She nodded, understanding the weight of those words. As she left, she turned one last time. The house keys, she said, pulling them from her pocket. You should have these now. It's your house after all. I took them, feeling the cold metal against my palm. Good luck with the interviews, I said. Thanks, she smiled slightly. I'll need it. Turns out being an influencer doesn't count as real work experience. After she left, I sat back down at my desk, looking at the house keys. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Amanda just accepted the filing clerk position. Starting Monday, $15 an hour. Thank you, son. I didn't reply. Some thanks come too late, and some lessons cost too much. But as I looked at the keys in my hand, I felt something I hadn't expected. Hope. Not for the house or the money or even the situation, but for my sister, who might finally be ready to build something real, even if it started with filing papers and brewing coffee. Sometimes rock bottom has marble counters and Tesla payments, and sometimes climbing out means taking the bus to a job you once thought was beneath you. I placed the keys in my drawer and turned back to my work. The story wasn't over, but at least now it felt like we were reading from the same book. 1 year later, I stood in the empty house, my house, watching the real estate agent place the sold sign in the front yard. The property had sold for more than expected, a clean profit that would help erase the financial burden of the past 4 years. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. No emojis, no filters, just real words. Just got the promotion. Assistant office manager. Want to grab coffee? My treat this time, really. I smiled, remembering the past year's transformation. Amanda had stuck to her word, starting at Dad's company in the filing room. She'd taken the bus every day, rain or shine, carrying a packed lunch in a worn backpack. Her designer clothes had been sold on consignment, replaced by practical office wear from Target and H&M. Her tiny apartment, the one with the shared bathroom, had become home. She furnished it with second-hand finds and discount store basics, posting no photos, seeking no validation. The former influencer had gone offline, focusing instead on the real world. I typed back, sure, the usual place. Yes. And Stephen, I have news. 20 minutes later, I sat across from her at the local coffee shop, not the trendy, expensive one she used to frequent, but a simple family-owned place with reasonable prices and good coffee. Amanda looked different now, still my sister, but somehow more substantial. Her hands wrapped around a simple cup of drip coffee, no more elaborate specialty drinks with extra shots and fancy syrups. I've been saving, she said without preamble. Every paycheck, just like you suggested, following that notebook budget. I nodded, waiting. She pulled out her phone, not the latest model anymore, but a practical mid-range one she'd bought herself. She pulled up her banking app and showed me the screen. The number made me pause. $24,680. I started. 8 months of serious saving, she finished. No shopping sprees, no luxury items, no fancy brunches. Just work and saving. I'm impressed, I said, meaning it. There's more, she continued. Remember that business degree I never used? I've been taking night classes in accounting. Real classes, not online manifestation workshops. I set down my coffee. Accounting. She laughed, a real laugh, not the practiced giggle she once used for her videos. I know, right? Turns out I'm good with numbers when I actually try, when I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. The promotion? Is real. Assistant office manager, focusing on accounts payable. Dad didn't give it to me, I earned it. Competed against external candidates and everything. Pride, unexpected and warm, filled my chest. That's really something, Amanda. I have a 5-year plan, she continued. A real one, with actual numbers and goals. No more building my empire nonsense. Just steady progress. She pulled out a familiar notebook, the same one from a year ago, now worn and filled with new entries. I'm still tracking that number, the $347,000. Not because you asked me to, but because I need to remember, need to stay grounded. I reached across the table, closing the notebook. The house sold today. She nodded. I know, Mom told me. Congratulations. Thank you, I said, studying her face for any sign of resentment. Found none. You know what's funny, she said, putting the notebook away. A year ago, I thought losing the house was the worst thing that could happen to me. Turns out it was the best thing. I needed to lose everything to find myself. And, what did you find? She smiled, a real, slightly imperfect smile. A sister who wants to make things right. A person who can actually build something real, even if it's smaller and slower than my Instagram dreams. I pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table. Speaking of building something real. She opened it, her eyes widening at the check inside. What? What is this? Part of the profit from the house sale, I said. Not a gift, not a loan. Your portion of the equity you built before. Everything. It's yours, free and clear. Her hands trembled slightly. I don't deserve this. Maybe not, I agreed. But you've earned it. This past year, you've earned it. She stared at the check for a long moment, then slowly tore it in half. Amanda, what are you? I need to do this on my own, she said firmly. Really on my own. Keep the money, invest it, do whatever you want with it. I'm going to build my own path, one accounting class and bus ride at a time. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw someone new. Someone real. Someone who had finally understood that true worth isn't measured in followers or likes, but in a quiet dignity of earning your own way. Coffee's getting cold, she said, changing the subject. Tell me about the house sale. Any interesting buyers? As we sat there talking, really talking, not performing or pretending, I realized something. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about getting everything you want. Sometimes it's about becoming someone who deserves what they have. Amanda had lost a house but found herself. And I had lost some money but found my sister. In the end, that felt like a pretty good trade.